So here we are with the lineup of the semi-final number 2 of the men's quadruple scull. New Zealand, Ukraine, Australia, Germany, Italy and Cuba vying for another 3 final A places out of this semi-final. Here we have New Zealand, some very good scullers indeed in lane 1. Matthew Trott, especially Olympic competitor as well. Lane 2, Ukraine. They were 8th at the Beijing Olympic Games with his quad. Australia, well, 3rd place for them at Lucerne. Lane 3 here, meaning they are one of the crews to beat, as are the Germans, the Lucerne winners, with Tim Groen on the stroke position from Dresden. And here we have a lot of experience in this very class. Italy, Rossano Galtarossa, silver medalist in Beijing, together with his crewmates. And then Cuba, internationally a nearly new lineup. That's not true. They were at the Beijing Olympic Games in the B final, but didn't show up last year or this year during the season. So that's Daniel Noonan for Australia, and Tim Groman for, no, that's Karl Schulze, that's the bowman for Germany. Well, if you are a rower, you would like to be out on that lake, wouldn't you? It's just great. Oh, we have a start delay here for whichever reason.
While we're waiting, we might want to talk about the outstanding season that this German quad is having thus far. They're definitely a boat to watch. Winners in Lucerne and Munich. Everyone had been paying attention to the Croatians as this young and up-and-coming crew, you know, especially after they beat the Poles. I think the delay may be because this Swan is sitting in the middle of the lane. He's decided to stray onto the course.
Well, it's his area of living, so.
You know, they do seem very possessive of the lake, I've noticed. So he's staked his claim, but now is slowly swimming away.
So he's under starter's orders as well. All right, it's a natural setting, it's a natural lake, and this is how you can cope with this. Just waiting for a second. So the starters is once more calling the crews over. All right, you waited a long time once more, I wondered, but now they're off. It's the semi-final number 2 of the men's quadruple sculls, and it's for another 3 final A places here, and it's going to be a tough one, as was the first one. Germany definitely the crew to beat. They've been beaten only once this season by the Croatians, narrowly so at the Hamburg stage of the World Cup, but won, as you said, Yaz, at Munich and at Lucerne. And in Lucerne it really was a good win. It was a comfortable one there for the Germans. So they're out there in lane 4 with a meter or so up on the Australians. But we wouldn't underestimate them. So much experience there. Smooth rowing, bronze medalists last year. Before ahead of the Germans actually. Germans were 4th with a slightly different crew. And here we have Rossano Galtarossa. Also a very short haircut. Always been that for the last 12 years
it's
or so.
Aerodynamic.
Yeah, it's Ukraine, also working hard.
Look at the boat bouncing through the water. I mean, that's a lot of force going on those blades, and sometimes you can get away with that if you've got enough power, but ideally you want to have it running a little more. And they do look like they're having a few steering issues here as they drift towards the port side, and that's dangerous. That's about a half a length loss right there with that kind of steering.
Absolutely. The stroke man who steers the boat should have reacted earlier, but it didn't cost them too much so far. Germany still, well, no, it's level pegging now. The Australians are coming through a little bit with another display of their smooth style of rowing.
The Australian starts this week have just been so impressive. They don't get the rate too high. Here, though, they're at 38, 37, Germany 36. But they're incredibly efficient, and that leaves them a lot of room to be able to have a nice sprint at the end. So beautiful rowing from the Australians, but also let's not discount that German boat, which did post the fastest time in their heat. So they have not met up with Croatia yet, and the time between those two boats in the heats was only 0.3 of a second. So should they go through, that's going to be an incredible race. But Australia is also putting their message in here too, that they are not to be discounted.
Now they have a good race pace. They are able to go with the leading crew of the World Cup season, the World Cup winners actually from Germany. And I think right now I heard Karl Schulze from the bow position give a command to his crew to make a move. And when we look from the top position here, we see that the Germans have indeed tried to make a move just before the halfway mark and regain leadership of this in this race. Germany leading Australia by just under a deck's length, so 0.3 of a second. Italy already over a length behind though, so that's going to be a good one for place number 3. The first two actually on a safe way here, aren't they?
Definitely. I'm looking at the stroke rates in the German and Australian boats. I just clocked them both at 35.5 beats a minute. It looks like the German crew now starting to get a little more momentum in the third quarter of the race. Wow, that looks really beautifully symmetrical.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like hard work, and that's always good when you have a quad working like that. And I think looking from the top perspective there, it seemed that the Germans had gained about half a length over the Australians at this point in the third quarter of the race.
And just like you saw the call, or heard the call from the German two-man, I just saw the Aussie two-man make a call as well. That's James McRae.
So that's a deceiving perspective here. The camera is a little bit ahead of the crews, so indeed it's about half a length as we judge the lines of buoys.
So it's closer than it looks, you're saying?
Yeah, at this point it was closer than it looks, but I mean still half a length, and the quad is an extremely fast boat class which can also be accelerated fast. Is not much. Anyway, it's about places 1 to 3 here who would qualify for the A final, and Germany and Australia definitely distinguish themselves from the rest of the pack here. Wow, that's a close one indeed between Italy, Cuba, and also New Zealand there.
And now it's all about working that rating up to the finish line. You want to make sure that you can keep those catches direct. It's the hardest time to keep that blade work clean because the suffering is so intense. And at the same time, you know that finish line is in sight. They're running identical speeds here, Australia and Germany, with about 300 meters to go.
Yeah, now it's another psychological situation. We had that on the previous days. Will the Australians decide to secure their position and save some energy, or will they try to challenge the Germans as we come to the last 25 strokes of this race? Because the pressure is not very much on them. The other 4 boats are way behind. The New Zealand is now coming into third place on the right-hand side of your picture, just ahead of the Italians. Now that would be really a setback for the Italian Olympic medal hopes. The Italians up their rate another notch, and we come to the final stage, and indeed the Australians go for it and go on 39 strokes a minute, even 40, but Germany hangs on to first place and is extremely fast here on the last 10 strokes or so. Germany first across the line right now, half a length up on the Australians, and it's a length and a half to the next crew, and this is, well, was it either Italy or was it Ukraine? Oh, well, no, sorry, of course, the New Zealanders. It wasn't the New Zealanders on the far side. Sorry for that. Ukraine definitely not there at this point.
And New Zealand came out of nowhere. I mean, truly, they were well back, and that's one of those developing crews that New Zealand has really been putting a lot of attention and energy into. But a photo finish for that one, and we'll find out in just a second.
Yeah, still waiting for final results here. So times keep coming in here. Germany definitely first, second place for Australia. We saw that the margin was just under a second. Third place for Italy, about seconds down, and then fourth New Zealand 0.08 of a second behind. And now we have also the confirmation on the monitor, so we read it out from our monitor.